What's up, and welcome back to the Inside the Diamonds podcast. I am your host tonight, Chris. Again, I'm doing this solo. It's 4th of July week. We've reached the dog days of summer. I probably said that last week of June, but it's officially July. Things are rolling. It's hot. We got fireworks tonight, so I'm going to try to do this in 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm sure with everybody traveling for family plans and parties, you probably don't want to listen to me ramble on for about an hour. So I'm going to try to keep this maybe 30 minutes. But there is a lot to get to. And so we're going to start this right off. And, we've been doing this. This is what, my fourth week solo. And the last 3 weeks, we started doing this hot and cold. So far, I think it's cool. Plus, it actually keeps me more in tune with other things going on around the league. So we're going to start off with the hots. The first hot team from last week, the San Diego Padres. And they came in the Fenway. They took 2 or 3. And my God, did they take 2 or 3. I take Friday and Saturday, they just dominated those 2 games. It was to the point, I didn't do it, but it was to the point as a Red Sox fan where I was watching them and I almost had to shut it off. But Jackson Merrill, Friday night, Manny Machado Saturday, and Sunday the Red Sox came through, 13-1 on Sundays. They just do what they do on Sundays. They can't win Fridays apparently. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's an article I wrote the other day, I think it was Saturday, where I talk about the Red Sox and their struggles on Saturday. And there'll be a more in-depth article on that coming soon. But with that, the Padres are 8-2 in their last 10. They're off tonight, but Jackson Merrill, that kid is the real deal. There was a reason why he was in my top 10 to start the year for prospects. In this 10-game stretch, hitting 381 with a 1.133 OPS, got 4 bombs, 7 runs scored, 12 RBIs. Kid's proven he can do it. Manny Machado, 10 games, 400 average, 1.144 OPS, 4 bombs, 9 runs scored, 12 RBIs. Between those two, that's 8 bombs, 16 runs scored, 24 RBIs. Ridiculous what they're doing. Jake Cronenworth, 10 games, 317, 852 OPS, 2 bombs, 14 runs scored, 7 RBIs. The last one is Jurickson Profar. 9 games, he's hitting 250 with a 725 OPS, a home run, 5 runs scored, and 8 RBIs. This lineup is just cruising. They're doing it without Fernando Tatis and Bogaerts. Bogaerts hasn't really been doing much since he signed with the Padres. But Fernando Tatis took back to miss, and they're not missing a beat. On the mound, Dylan Cease. I wasn't big on him. There was a lot of people talking about him coming to the Red Sox. I didn't like the idea of it. I thought the asking price was too much. The Padres liked it. They made a deal. They got him. In the last 10 games, he's made 2 starts. He's 1-0. He's gone 11 and 2/3 innings, 14.7 K per nine in that stretch, a 3.09 ERA, and a 0.94 WHIP. The ERA is a little high, but I like the WHIP under 1. I like the fact that K per nine is over 10, way over 10. And that's in 11 and 2/3 innings. He's proven it. So that's a hot team. They're going to be fun to watch this next week. We'll get to them a little bit later. There's more to cover about them. The next one, another team we're going to talk about especially later, is the New York Mets, but 16-8 in all of June. And I know I wasn't going to put them in the hot, but they lost 2 or 3 over the weekend to the Astros, but they're 16-8 in June. And so I crunched the numbers for all of June. So just for instance, Francisco Lindor, 24 games, 290 average, 872 OPS, 4 home runs, 20 runs scored, and 11 RBIs. That is just wild what he is doing. Looks good. He's playing good. Another one, Brandon Nimmo, 23 games. He's got a 315 average with a 1.004 OPS, 6 home runs, 24 runs scored, 21 RBIs. It's a power bat. That's what they need. Pino Alonso is another one, but we'll get to him in a minute. Mark Vientos, 23 games, 277 average, 910 OPS, 7 home runs, 17 runs scored, 17 RBIs. This team just puts up runs in June. Now, again, it's the Mets. Do they fall off? Who knows? I mean, it seems to happen all the time. They were leading the division. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. They had the division. It seemed like they were going to win it, and they've collapsed. Pete Alonso, 24 games, 272 average, 898 OPS, 5 home runs, 16 runs scored, and 19 RBIs. And finally, the other one who, if they can't get, they're in this, but if they fall out or something happens, 24 games, 272 average, 874 OPS, 4 home runs, 11 runs scored, 20 RBIs. He's a guy that could be moved, could be a bat to another team that is looking to make a run, looking for a power bat that can get the job done. So that's a team to watch. They're in it now. Coming in July when things, start out on trade deadline, things start to get figured out. One bad week, and I've seen it. You see it for a lot of teams. So they'll be fun to watch. I'm watching them right now. It's 2-1 Nationals in the top of the 6th. We'll get to why I'm watching this game in a little bit. The third and final hot team is the Houston Astros, and they are hot. And I said it to you when we had JC on a couple weeks ago. They're a team that I'm not worried about. You knew they were going to get hot. You knew they were going to figure it out. They've won 9 of their last 10. They're 11-4 in their last 15. They just won again today, so that those records are without today's game. They just did it again. With the win today, they're now 3 games back of the Mariners. They're right there. They're coming, and they're doing this with. I didn't even realize it when I did last week's podcast because I think I did them as hot again, and Verlander's out. So they're doing this without Christian Javier, Jose Urquidy, I believe, is also out, and then Justin Verlander. That's 3 pretty good pitchers you're missing. The bats have been there. Jose Altuve, 14 games, a 351 average, 999 OPS with 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 11 runs scored. Not a bad little recent stretch for him. Yainer Diaz, 14 games, a 382 average, and 873 OPS, has not hit a home run, got 12 runs scored and 8 RBIs. Yordan Alvarez, this guy is just every time he's a must-watch bat. 12 games at 302 average, a 904 OPS, 2 home runs, 8 runs scored, 6 RBIs. The last one is a surprise. Jake Myers. 14 games, 250 average, and 817 OPS, 2 home runs, 9 runs scored, and 7 RBIs. The lineup's producing. They're getting runs. They're taking care of business. The next one is the 2 pitchers on that team, too. We'll start with Hunter Brown. I mean, this guy, 3 games started, 3-0 with an under 1 ERA, another .50 ERA, an under 1 WHIP, and a 10.4 K per 9. That's what you need. You lose 3 arms like they have, and another one comes back out. It's like watching. I'm not going to compare them to the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are a team. They lose an arm. Okay, who's next? And they just find progress everywhere. The next final one is Ronel Blanco. 3 games, he's 2-1 with a 1.83 ERA, another WHIP under 1, 7.8 K per 9. So, and as I said before, Mets hot team. They just took a 3-2 lead in the top of the 6 against the Nationals. So, I mean, and like I said, the Mets are rolling. They're rolling. And I don't know if you watched on Twitter or anything, but Friday night, Jose Iglesias performed a concert on the field. And all weekend I've had that song. My son loves that song. It's a banger. It's a fantastic song. It's called Oh My God. And I think he goes by Candelita or something like that. It's something that the team's vibing to. I mean, the whole team was on the field jamming to the concert. They were having a good time. They were all smiling. Like, it's clearly they've all meshed together. And there's a lot going on there. And you can see it's working out. I mean, they had a hell of a June. Now, can that translate to July? They just came back from a 2-0 game when I put this on. So they're doing it. I don't know if they can. Again, it's the Mets. So, JC asked a couple weeks ago, do I trust the Astros? I said, I think they come back. The Mets, do I trust them to continue? It's the Mets. And so it's a whole different situation, a whole different circumstance. I don't know. I hope so, because I like when, the Mets are good. I like when baseball altogether, like the big name teams like that are good. It's good for baseball. So to get baseball good for the Mets, I hope it works out. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. I don't know what they got to do, So I don't know what moves they can make or what they can do to get better. But it'll be interesting to see over the next couple weeks where they go. Now we'll get to the cold. The first one is the Seattle Mariners. Might as well transition right from the Astros to the Mariners. Mariners are 3-7 in their last 10. Julio Jones is hitting just above 100 in those 10 games. The 262 OPS, has not hit a home run, has not driven a run, has 1 run scored. Mitch Garver hitting a $129 with a 566 OPS, 2 home runs, 4 runs scored, 4 RBIs. Ty France, 143 average, a 479 OPS, 1 home run, 3 runs scored, 2 RBIs. The big one, though, is this team is built on their pitching. and that's what it was said all year when JC and I picked him, I think, to win the division. Luis Castillo, who was in the conversation for a Cy Young candidate, he's in his last 3 games 0-2 with a 7.04 ERA, a 1.63 WHIP, and a 3.52 walk per 9. That's just not Luis Castillo baseball, and that's a big reason why this team has fallen. The next and final one, I only did 2 for the Cold this week. The Washington Nationals, who I'm watching right now, 3-7 in their last 10. And they were climbing. They looked like they can make a move. They were in 3rd. Now they've fallen behind the Mets. They're in 4th. So we'll see what happens with them. But, so, in their last 10, we got Jesse Winker hitting a .172 with a .693 OPS, 2 home runs, 4 runs scored, 4 RBIs. Joey Meneses, 162 average, a 427 OPS, has not hit a home run, 3 runs scored, and 5 RBIs. Nick Senzel, a 176 average, a 470 OPS, 1 home run, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. The one bat carrying this team is CJ Abrams. He's hitting .469 in this last 10 games with a 1.388 OPS, 2 home runs, 10 runs scored, and 6 RBIs. He's putting the team on his back, so the games that they're winning is CJ Abrams helping out. The problem is the rest of the lineup's not. And it's not helping on the mound either. Mackenzie Gore, who is their big guy, they're pretty much their number 1 this year. 2 games started, he's 0-2. He's got a 6.30 ERA, a 1.90 WHIP, and a 4.50 walk per 9. Mitchell Parker, who had been pretty good since he got called up, 0-1 in his last 2 starts, a 4.85 WHIP and a 1.36 WHIP. You got to turn that around. And Patrick Corbin's not been good, so you got to find something. So with that, we're going to move right along. Those are the hot and colds for this week. And we're going to talk about joining us. So right now, it's we're about to hit the biggest month of the season. We got the draft is coming up. We got prospects in the futures game, which is All-Star Weekend. We got All-Stars. We got Home Run Derby. And then we got the trade deadline. So there's a lot to write about. And this is the best time to join. I mean, it really is. Because at the end of the day, if you want to come in and you want to say, for instance, you're a team that I just put on the cold list, like you're the Mariners, and you have a chance to win the division. Well, you need a bat. You want to come in, you want to talk about them, how they need a bat, and what names you want them to go get. You have an outlet to come do that. If you're a team like the Blue Jays, and you want to talk about, is it time to sell Guerrero? Is it time to sell Bichette? You can come do that. So there is opportunities. It doesn't matter if we have a writer there. We can always take an extra. There's always something to write about. Some people have different ideas than other people. I mean, I have the most random ideas where I'm sitting there in my chair one night watching baseball and something pops in my head. And I'm like, I got to write this down. And I'll write it in my notes and I'll save it for the next day and I'll write it, edit it and do it all before I publish it the next day. Or I'll do it that night if it's that important. But there's something always pops in my head. Every team. Like I'll do something for any team if it pops in my head. So if you want to do that, come reach out to me. All right. Again, the email is clavalley@insidethediamonds.com. And there's also in the link right below if you're watching on YouTube is insidethediamonds.com/join us. So let me know. All right, let's start with the news. At least the news that I put down. Tanner Houck, I'm going to get this out of the way quick because he's a Red Sox fan. Roughed up in his last start on his birthday. Tough birthday for the guy. And if you haven't heard the clip, he literally said after they asked him what he was going to do to go out or whatever, he's like, I'm just going to sit home. That was terrible. He went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 9 hits, 8 runs, 7 earned, 1 walk, 4 Ks, 3 home runs. It's the most he's allowed this season. He had the best ERA entering that start, and it rose to the 6th best. He was expected to be the starter for the All-Star game. Now who knows if he makes the All-Star team? It's in question. He should, because of what he's done all year, and one bad start shouldn't dictate that, but it's in question. His last 5 starts, though, I shouldn't say it's been one start. He has gone 2-1, but I've said it time and time again, you can't go by win-loss record. He's got a 4.85 ERA, a 1.18 WHIP, and a 9.1 K per 9. To the point where I'm going to transition right into my next topic where I talk about, the Cy Young candidates. And I had Tanner Houck as one of my favorites to win the Cy Young after my obvious pick. But he isn't right there for me right now. I debated that if he got to the All-Star break doing what he was doing, I'd sprinkle some money on it, do a little gambling on him to win the Cy Young. But I'm out on that now. I don't think that's happening. So with that, we're going to go right into the AL Cy Youngs. It's down to me at this point in time. Now we have probably 80 games left, maybe a little less for some teams, maybe a little more for some teams. To me, as of right now, the American League is down to a two-horse race. It's Tarik Skubal and it's Corbin Burnes. And Tarik Skubal came out and did what he did last week. He went against the Philadelphia Phillies, who are one of the best teams in baseball. He went 7 innings, did not allow a run on 3 hits, and walked 1 and struck out 7. Now, this is a Phillies team that he faced before Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber got hurt, and he did that. So the conversation has to start. With that, this season, 9-3 with a 2.32 ERA and under 1 WHIP, 112 strikeouts, and 97 innings pitched. Corbin Burnes is the other one. Now, there's been rumors that the Orioles have the pieces, and with Skubal under control, and the Tigers not being in it, they could move Skubal. The Orioles could put a package together and go get Skubal. Now we're talking the 2 pitchers that I have as the Cy Young candidates in the same rotation, going against each other as a 1-2 combination. Now, Skubal's under contract, so he could stay, and it helps the Orioles going forward. Burnes is a free agent after this year, so we'll see. As a Tigers fan, I don't want to give up Skubal, but I love the trade because I like the Orioles, and I want to see what they do with a good 1-2 punch like that. And they got injuries, so it wouldn't be a bad move. The problem is what do you give up? And that's where we have to have the conversation. But Corbin Burnes against the Rangers, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 9 hits, 0 walks, and 5 Ks. Got to be in the conversation. He was the favorite coming into the year with Gerrit Cole, and Gerrit Cole we'll get to in a minute, but it's Skubal and Burnes right now. Now, next week we should talk about, and I will talk about, I think, the NL Cy Young. I'll put 5 candidates in, go through how they did the weekend. I'll see how their season's going. I'll put that in my notes for next week, right after we get this off. The next one, and I said it, I don't know if I said it last week or 2 weeks ago, Luis Gil. When is the struggle coming? Because I didn't think as a rookie he could do it all year. It's come. His last 2 starts, 5 2/3, 12 earned runs, 12 hits, 6 walks, 3 Ks. In those 2 starts, his ERA in those 2, a 19.05. He's got a 3.17 WHIP. He goes tomorrow on Tuesday, so if you're listening to this you'll listen to this Tuesday, so he goes today. So, is he due for a rebound? We'll see. I mean, he's got to figure it out. He's going to go Tuesday, and he's going to win Sunday against the Red Sox. So, he's got to figure it out. The next one, Gerrit Cole. And I was all gung-ho to come in here and say, man, he struggled since he's been back. Because he pitched the other day against the Mets. In his second start since coming off the injured list, he went 4 innings, gave up 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, and didn't record a strikeout. I think they believe they had 4 home runs as well. I was all ready. I'm like, okay, is this a problem? Is this part of the Yankees issue? Then he pitched against the Blue Jays yesterday, and he looked like Gerrit Cole again. He didn't go as much as he normally would. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 6 Ks. In 2 starts, he's got a 7 ERA, a 1.67 WHIP, and his next start comes against the Boston Red Sox on Saturday. Moving right along, I hope he's back because he makes the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry a lot better. And as a Red Sox fan, it's fun watching Rafael Devers take him to right field, especially at Yankee Stadium, and just watching that. Actually, it seems like more or less he takes him to center field when they play at Yankee Stadium. So, the other pitcher that has struggled, Ranger Suarez. This guy was leading baseball in ERA. And clearly a Cy Young candidate for the Phillies, competing against his own teammate, Zach Wheeler. But in his last 2 starts, he's 0-1 with 10.2 innings pitched, a 6.75 ERA, a 1.78 WHIP. I mean, wow. His ERA is now up to 2.27. I don't know what's going on there. I hope they get it figured out. I think he's going to actually pitch against the Braves. I think it's his next start. You got to figure that out. The next one, Christopher Sanchez from the same team. He stepped up. With Suarez's struggle, he came out the other day, I believe it was yesterday, or no, it was Saturday. Complete game shutout of the Marlins. Gave up 3 hits, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 9. That was a beautiful outing. So the Phillies are just doing it everywhere. If Suarez is going to struggle, Sanchez will get you. If Noah's going to struggle, Wheeler's got you, and vice versa. If they all click come postseason time, watch out for them. We're going to move right into the National League wild card. I mean, this whole race is so much fun. The Padres and Cardinals, are they pulling away? Are the Mets staying hot and they can get back in it? They're 2 games back. Are the Diamondbacks making their run? They're 2.5. Paul Skeens and Jared Jones, can they get there? Are they going to put them on an innings limit? Are they going to restrict them? They're 3 games back. The race is so wide open. There's really, to the point where you'd say there's 2 teams not in it. And that's the Marlins and the Rockies. They're double-digit games back from the wild card race. So it's wide open. So with that, let's start with what's coming up. So the team that's first in, the Padres. They got the Rangers for 3 games and the Diamondbacks for 3 games. What I really like when I was going through this today is a lot of these teams are facing each other. And the first one right there, you got the Padres facing the Diamondbacks. Could the Diamondbacks sweep and they're back in this? Right back to it. I mean, we're going to continue. The Cardinals. They got 3 against the Pirates starting tomorrow and then 3 against the Nationals. 2 more teams that are chasing the Cardinals for that last spot. And I just said it. The Pirates are 3 games back. They started right out. They come in, they sweep the Cardinals. And a sweep is hard, so I'm not saying they're going to do that. But they come in, they sweep the Cardinals, they're tied. I mean, they need help right in front of them with the Mets and the Diamondbacks and the Giants. But they come in, they sweep the Cardinals, they're right back in this race. And they got the arms to do it. The bat's starting to click. What can we see happen with that? They could go at somebody. They could go at a bat. The next one's the Mets. They got the 4 against the Nationals this weekend. They got 3 against the Pirates. Another team, they go 5-2, 6-1. Are they right in the wild card spot? And we're it's July 1st. We are 2 weeks from today is the home run derby. So we're at the All-Star break in 2 weeks. So once we get to the All-Star break, what's this going to look like? That podcast is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to watch the home run derby. So what's that going to be like? We're going to continue with the Diamondbacks. They got a tough one. This is where they as a team could fall out of this if they don't play their cards right and get the job done this week. They got 3 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Padres. The Dodgers are running with the division. So you go 1-2 there, fine. That's not going to hurt you. You get the Padres, though, and you don't go 2-1 against them. You go 1-2. You could find yourself falling, and they could be at the bottom of this list. The Giants are right behind them. They got 3 against the Braves, a team that's right above the Padres and the Cardinals, and they're not in, but I mean, they're the 3rd best team realistically in the National League, I think, even with the injuries they've had. So it's a tough series for you. Then they got the Guardians, who lead the American League Central. So they could be a team that, same thing, they struggle this week, and they're in trouble. The Pittsburgh Pirates, we said they got the Cardinals for 3 and the Mets for 3. The Nationals got 4 against the Mets, and we already said they got 3 against the Cardinals. Again, that's a team, what are they, 3.5, 4 back? You get 7 games. You go 2-5, 3-4, you could be out of it. And I mean, there's still a week to go before the All-Star break. So being out of it going into before that next week isn't the end-all be-all. You could go 4-2 the next week, and you're back in it. So really, it's the week after, like the Monday after the All-Star break when that podcast does, we'll have to really go and say who could make the move to get in. Where are we at? Who's falling out? And that goes to the next 2 teams who really could fall out. The Reds this week, they have a chance to go realistically 2-4. Because I think the way it lines up, they got 2-4. They got 3 against the Yankees. That could very well be them getting swept. And they got 3 against the Tigers. which realistically Tarek Skubal is going to pitch probably in that game because I believe he pitches tomorrow, so I think he would get Sunday start. That's essentially they could lose 4 games right there and they're out of it. Finally, the Cubs. They got 3 against the Phillies. The lineup's not producing. You go against the pitching staff of the Phillies, that could be a problem. Then they got 3 against the Angels. You realistically can come away 3-3 this week and you're still in contention. In that case, you can't lose. If you can come away stealing 1 against the Phillies and you drop one to the Angels, you're still okay. You're 3-3. But really, this is a week where these teams that have 6 games have to go 4-2, and the teams that have 7 games have to go 4-3, 5-2. You have to have a winning week to continue to keep doing what you're doing. You just gotta. It's win every series, even if it's 2 out of 3, if it's 3 out of 4, if it's 4 games. If you split, you're okay. I mean, the Red Sox just did it to the White Sox, and then they took 2 or 3 from the Phillies and 2 or 3 from the Yankees, and they're right back in the playoff spot. Now they're not. They're a game and a half behind the Royals, and I think 2 or 3 behind the Twins. So they're not there right now. But, it's one good week. One good week, and you're back in this. And all these teams, I think at max, the distance is like 5 games back behind the Cardinals, who have the last wild card spot. So a big week and the Cardinals struggle, you're in this. You're holding a playoff spot if the other teams in front of you struggle. And thankfully, it seems like from the schedule, a lot of these teams are facing each other. Like I said, you got 1, 2, 3, at least 5 matchups. I think this week of altogether, if not more, of teams facing each other. They're ahead of them or right behind them in the wild card spot. So this race is going to be absolutely wild. And like I said, continuing with the playoff talk, the American League is the same thing. The Orioles and Yankees are fighting for their AL East. The Red Sox are now 8.5 back. Are they going to win the division? No. It's between those 2 teams. I think the Yankees fall off is coming. I think it's the Orioles division that is going to end up taking it away. They need to go get another arm, and they know that. So they're probably going to do that, and that's probably going to be what puts them way above the Yankees. The American League Central, you got the Guardians, the Twins, and the Royals. They're all right there. Can the Guardians hit a rough stretch? The Guardians have the best record in the American League. Who saw that coming? Because I had the Tigers win the Central, so I didn't see it coming. The AL West, I just said it earlier, the Astros have closed in. They're right there. So that division's wide open. The National League East, you got the Phillies and the Braves. That's really it. And really, it's the Phillies. But they just lost Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. They're on a 10-day injured list. So that opens the door. The Braves can come back. But the Braves also have their own injuries. So it depends what happens there. That's a series this weekend that we'll talk about in a little bit. Then what else do we have? The National League Central. That division is wide open. Like the Brewers aren't running away with that division. But right now it's not a race. It could be if the Cardinals get there and you have a 2-team race. But it's not like it's just gone to the Brewers. They could have a bad 2 weeks, and the division's wide open again. Then finally, the National League West, it's the Dodgers. The Padres are hot. They could get there, but realistically, probably not going to happen. Who knows, though? They got, like I said, Texas and Arizona this week. The Dodgers got Arizona and somebody else. Arizona sweeps them, and then the Padres come and sweep Arizona, or take 2. Say the Diamondbacks take 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, and then the Padres sweep the Diamondbacks. The Padres could be right back in this. They're not out of the race. It's just we all say the Dodgers and they have so much talent, but they do have their own injuries. Mookie Betts is hurt. Yamamoto's hurt. Kershaw, I believe the other day I saw that he was rehabbing at AAA. He suffered a setback. They're struggling with their own issues right now. So we'll have to see what happens with them. So that'll be a fun race to cover in the next couple weeks. I wish I had the Fangraphs odds for playoffs. I'll have to bring that for next week. I'll bring that for the National League wildcard race next week. And, so we're going to move right along to the prospects. So this week I kind of went with 3. I did 2 hitters and a pitcher because 2 hitters really stood out to me that I couldn't distinguish either one as the clear-all, be-all hitter of the week from the top 100. We're going to start with Spencer Jones, this guy. If you're not familiar with him, I watched him in the spring breakout where they had that game with all the prospects. And this guy, Double-A for the Yankees, looks like Giancarlo Stanton. That's his height, and he's hitting from the left side of the plate. And he's just a tough out. This last week, he went 9 for 27 at 4 doubles, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, 5 runs scored, and a walk. I'm surprised. I say this with the Red Sox prospects all the time. Like, why haven't their Double-A prospects been promoted? Why isn't he at Triple-A? They just lost Jason Dominguez to an injury. And the whole conversation with Yankees fans was when Giancarlo Stanton inevitably gets hurt, Dominguez will replace him in the lineup, and that's why he was rehabbing at AAA. He was ready to come up. Now Dominguez is hurt, and who knows how long he's out for. So if Stanton inevitably gets hurt, who's going to replace him? I mean, they do have options up there, but you bring a bat like Spencer Jones. Let's see him at AAA. See what he does. You open the door for a possibility he comes in. You could move, somebody like Dominguez who has injury issues. Why not? It's a left-handed bat at that stadium with that porch. Would be a great idea. I'm maybe not moving Dominguez, but somebody, there's options. The next bat is Kobe Mayo, who personally, this guy is playing at AAA for the Orioles, is a name that I've seen float around a lot. If Tarik Skubal was to be moved by the Tigers, that Mayo could be the guy, that part of the package that goes to Detroit. And that's a nice bat to get. I'd like an arm with it. I mean, like, Pavich doesn't do it all for me. You have to throw somebody else in there, but Kobe Mayo's been a hell of a bat. Last week, he went 9 for 22 with a double, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 4 runs scored, 3 walks, and an intentional walk. He's hitting .317 this year. He has a 1.067 OPS, 20 home runs, 54 RBIs, and 43 runs scored. The guy's proving it. It's run into the issue now, though, where you have him, Samuel Basallo, who's at Double-A, Bowie. You got, they're just blocked. Basallo can play catcher and first base. He's blocked by Rutschman. But then you have the conversation of first base and third base. Well, Mayo's first base and third base, so which one do you prefer, Basallo or Mayo? I've seen, based on articles I've written for the Orioles, that people, they go back and forth on which one they prefer. With Mayo being able to play third, he's blocked because essentially you're going to have probably Jackson Holiday at short, and you're probably going to have Gunnar Henderson at third. So that blocks him. So now what do you do? And also Jordan Westbrook hasn't been bad. So essentially he's kind of blocked there. Like, it's a block everywhere. That's how good the Orioles farm system is with prospects. I've said it time and time again. You got Colton Cowser in the outfield, Heston Kjerstad, you got Jed Fabian, you got Enrique Bradfield, you got, Santander's been hitting well. There's just guys all over the place that they have the pieces to move to go get that big name arm. And they didn't have to give up anybody for Colton Burns. Like, they gave up Joey Ortiz and Hall. And yes, those were good prospects. They're producing right now in Milwaukee. They're part of the reason Milwaukee's leading the division, but they're not two guys that you had to move that killed your farm system. A deal that includes Fabian, Mayo, Povich, and somebody else could get a deal done for somebody like Skubal. I don't know if I would do it, but it could be something that the Tigers say yes to. And does it handicap you? I mean, you could say Fabian or Bradfield. It's like literally interchangeable. You could take one of those guys in, one of those guys out. And then, if they want an outfield bat that's proven, you could do Cowser. I don't know if they would move Kjerstad because he's been hitting well. But there's just so many options that team could do to move. So it'll be interesting what happens, especially with the deadline. But Mayo, great season down in AAA. It's interesting to see what happens. Like, there's an injury involved in getting called up. Will he be up in September? Be something to watch. Next, we're going to talk about Bubba Chandler. That was my pitcher of the week, and I think he was last week too. But he made one start this past week. He went 6 2/3 innings, got the win, giving up 2 runs on 3 hits, walked 1, and struck out 11. So think about that. He recorded 20 outs, and 11 of them were by way of a strikeout. This guy, again, Double-A. So he's pitching for Altoona. Now, we talk about Skeens, we talk about Jared Jones. This is another name that could get a call up to AAA in Indianapolis at some point soon. And if he can do it up there, you could add him to the rotation next year, and we're talking about 3 pretty good arms. Now, they need a lefty. And I've said Solometo, but I believe he's on the development list. So there's arms, there's moves. Be interesting to see what they do because they have pitching. I mean, do they move Bubba and go get a bat? Could that be something that happens? Like, could be a bat available, and they're in the race, they go out a bat. they got so much talent. And I like there's another player down, I believe he's in single A or high A, Tamar Johnson, second baseman. Putting him with O'Neal Cruz would be a great combo up the middle. And then, Davis hasn't really worked out for them, but see if he can figure it out. And then you have another outfield piece. They have pieces. They can make it work. They can be a team that really runs that division with the Reds. You could have rivalry of the Reds and the Reds and the Pirates. I think back to what was it the last time I really remember the Reds in the playoffs. Like I feel like the Pirates and the Reds were always the teams competing for that wild card game. Johnny Cueto dropping the ball because it was so loud. Pittsburgh being there. So the last prospect I want to talk about, it's not his production from last week or anything. It's more on the lines of he's making his debut today. And if you give me 1 second, I'm going to pull up what he's done today. But last week in the minors, in 3 games, he went 5 for 12 with 3 doubles, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and a walk. This season with AAA Rochester, he's hitting .353 with a 1.058 OPS. He's got 10 home runs, 37 RBIs, 44 runs scored. And I don't know if you just saw that, but the whole house just turned blue. There's something going on outside. I told you fireworks. That's 4th of July week. So, but yeah, so everything, I just caught my eye. So sorry about that if you're watching on YouTube. Tonight, in his big league debut, he did record his first big league hit and his first big league at bat. He's going 1 for 3 with a strikeout. I mean, nothing like getting the monkey off your back to start your professional career and having the hit in the first at bat. So, this is a guy that I'm very excited about. He's the 3rd-ranked prospect on our top 100. If you're a Nationals fan, you got to be excited. He's finally up. It's time. Dylan Cruz isn't far behind him. I don't think he's been promoted from AA to AAA. So it's just a matter of time before he's up. There's a lot of good prospects in AA for Harrisburg. So the future's bright in Washington. It's another team that, doing what they're doing this year where they've been 3rd, they've been 4th. They got the pieces coming. Now they need pitching. They got to figure that out. Gore's a good pitching arm. Parker's looked good this year. Again, I said both those guys earlier. They've had rough stretches over the last week and a half. They figured out, though, they could be a team to be a problem in the next 2 years, 3 years, and they could be back in the conversation for a World Series like they were in, I believe they won in, 2019? Yeah, 2019. So they could be right back there. So we're going to wrap this up like we always do. We're going to go with the series of the week. Big 2 for this week, and now it's Monday. It's a light schedule. We had 3 games. We had the Blue Jays and the Astros, the Mets and the Nationals, and then we have Brewers and Rockies going on right now. None of those 3 games are in the series to watch this week for me. So if you're listening to this when it comes out, the first one I have is the Orioles Mariners. 2 teams leading their division. Mariners are going the wrong way. Orioles are coming up. They're competing with the Yankees. They had a bad week last week. They're going 4-6 in the last 10, but it's 2 teams that have struggled in the last couple games, but if they can figure it out, they're going to be a problem. And the Orioles, I'm not really worried about them. The Mariners might be a little worried with the bats, so we'll see what happens in that series. The other one is one we mentioned earlier with the whole wildcard chase. It's Cardinals-Pirates. I don't know who the pitching matchups are. I believe I saw Gibson was in there. I think Michael is. I saw Jones was in there. I didn't see Paul Skeens, so I don't know what they're going to do there. He's pitching Thursday for 4th of July, and I just didn't see it yet, and it's not out yet. But he usually goes after Jones, so I'm intrigued to see what they do there. But that series is a key one for this wild card race. The final 2, they're coming this weekend, and you should know it's coming. Sunday Night Baseball is 1 game for the 3-game series, but it's Red Sox Yankees in the Yankee Stadium. The Red Sox just took 2 or 3 from the Yankees a couple weeks ago. They're 8.5 back of the Yankees and the Orioles. They're trying to make a case that they're back into this wild card discussion. Look for them to be ready to go. The Red Sox, I believe, are going to face Garrett Cole on Saturday and Luis Gil on Sunday. I think it's Rodon or Cortez on Friday. I believe the Red Sox will have Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck. I think Crawford's Sunday. I think Tanner Houck is Friday, and I believe Saturday will be Winkowski unless they go something different. So some decent pitching options there. Winkowski pitched. He made his first start since coming back up. He pitched in Bayo's relief the other night. He's looked good in those 2 appearances, the start and the relief appearance. Could be something to watch on Saturday against Cole because the Red Sox seem to hit Cole well. It's gonna be a fun series this weekend. That's probably gonna be the main thing I watch this weekend. The last series to watch this weekend is the National League East race. It's the Phillies and the Braves. They got 3 games this weekend. I think the Phillies run away with that series, but if the Braves want to stay in this division race, they got to win that series, find a way to do it. They took care of business to start the year, but they were fully healthy then. They're not fully healthy now. We'll have to see what happens. And that is it for me. I'm thinking about doing a watch party either for the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby. If that's something you want to do and you think that's a cool idea, let us know in the comments. Or, let us know on Twitter if I put it out there and do a poll, see what happens, see what we get for turnouts. So there's a lot that could happen in the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of things we could do, and we'll see what happens from there. I hope everybody has a happy 4th of July. I hope everybody has a good time with their family, and I hope everybody enjoys some baseball and whatever else you want to do over the next couple of days. And I hope everybody has a good holiday.